SummerSlam is just 1 week away, and preview and predictions are coming this week, as well as maybe a different style of review. We'll see. Maybe I change up the format of the review show, but it depends on my timing and everything else, but I'll keep you guys updated. Follow me on X at wrestling_audio if you want to find out any of the updates regarding the show or just my opinions on what's going on right now in WWE. Also a great time to go ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast. So let's get to the emails. That's part of what today's show is about, as you guys send in your questions and your complaints and everything in between over at WWE podcast, mailbag at WWEpodcast.com. Okay, couple emails. Not a lot today. Three or so, even 4 emails. Okay, let's go. This is Jeff. He says, long-time listener, first-time emailer. A few weeks ago, you encouraged listeners to send their experiences of meeting wrestlers. Over 25 years ago, I certainly had a surreal wrestler-related encounter. I was born in Montreal, a true ride-or-die Sami Zayn fan, and grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I was lucky enough to attend some memorable wrestling shows, including a live event in April of 1987. Okay, you're dating yourself, Jeff. Where the Hart Foundation and Dangerous Danny Davis squared off against the British Bulldog and Coco Beware. And the May 28th, 2001 Monday Night Raw, which saw Lance Storm kick off the failed WCW Invasion angle. Okay, I remember that one. I was not privy to the April 1987 event, as I was still in diapers. But by far, the best experience was having floor seats for the July 1997 Canadian Stampede In Your House pay-per-view. Crazy that floor seats for a pay-per-view were less expensive than upper-level shows, house shows seats now. This event was main evented by the 10-man tag team match of the Hart Foundation versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom. Another great match on the card was Mankind versus Triple H, with Triple H throwing Foley into the crowd, completely wiping out our section of seating. There was also the WWF debut of 2 Japanese wrestlers, Taka Michinoku and the Great Sasuke, and The Undertaker defending the WWF Championship against Vader. Owen Hart won the main event for his team by getting the pinfall on Stone Cold after outside interference. Before I continue, how did you remember all this? I'm guessing you have flashes of it, but if you remembered all of this without Googling it or Wikipediaing it, that's impressive. Okay, I was a massive Owen Hart fan for his in-ring ability and commentary. His heel color work during a series of matches between the Bulldog and Shawn Michaels was hilarious and is an obvious inspiration for Kevin Owens. Hard to believe that less than 2 years later, his career would end in tragedy. His May 31st, 1999 funeral was a private affair, but I was one of over 1,500 fans who stood outside McGinnis and Holloway Funeral Home, listening to the ceremony from a PA system. Needless to say, it was a somber occasion. I remember the tour bus pulling up full of wrestlers, The Rock, Edge, Triple H, Chyna, Sean Waltman, Jeff Jarrett. Seemed like most of the roster at the time, all dressed in black. Vince McMahon was there with the Hart family just prior to their bitter court battles. Incredibly, Hulk Hogan was also there, even though he was WCW's biggest star at the time. What was most surreal was seeing Mark Calloway, not in Undertaker gear, mind you, walking around my local funeral home. Although it was an incredibly sad time, it was heartwarming to see so many wrestlers and fans come together to celebrate Owen Hart, his life, and his career. Also, not to belittle this ceremony, but the irony of The Undertaker being in attendance for a funeral, at the time anyway, especially, I hope it's not lost on anybody there. But I'm not making light of Owen's passing, but at least from that perspective of The Undertaker being at a funeral. All right. Just this past February, I happened to meet Owen. Meet Owen? What do you mean? Meet Bret's brother, Ross Hart. Oh, Owen and Bret's brother. Gotcha. at a birthday party for a mutual friend. There, I had the opportunity to let him know how much I appreciated the contributions his family and brothers made to pro wrestling and how important they were to me growing up in my university years. For as scripted and over the top as pro wrestling can be, especially back then during an era of strict adherence to kayfabe, it was oddly comforting for me to see wrestlers just being themselves, going through the ups and downs of life that we all deal with. Anyway, I just thought I would share that. My apologies for the lengthy email. Keep up the great work. Jeff from Calgary. See, I love this stuff, Jeff. This is exactly what I was hoping for. You guys have your own stories. Everybody, not everyone, but a lot of us have some kind of experience with in-person wrestler and encounters, whether it's just at the live event or at an airport or a hotel, or in this case, a birthday party, which of all places. I like that stuff because you never know how it's impacting someone else's life. Everybody's got their own race they're running and has their own memories that are important to them. And it's cool to hear other stories and interactions and how it's affected your life. So good stuff. I like hearing that. And yeah, especially back, like you said, with the kayfabe, when protecting characters, protecting wrestlers, protecting the business was still a pretty high priority for most wrestlers. Social media didn't exist, so that helps. There wasn't a platform that someone could just go rogue on and post a selfie or take a picture with a championship and act like it's an accessory like Tiffany Stratton does. It protected the business in a way that kept a little mystery alive. What pulled me in initially was I didn't know if it was real. And if it wasn't real, how are they making it look so real when it's not? And if it is real, oh my God, where has this world been? And over the years, it's been eroded away a little bit by little bit every year. And TKO was the finishing move. I mean, Vince McMahon was responsible for some of the actual demise of protecting kayfabe. And there were a few guys that actually still adhered to it. Again, social media is a curse when it comes to protecting the business and believability. But there were a few guys like The Undertaker who protected his character for so long that it was striking, especially in that time, to see him outside of the ring in a suit. Now you see it and you're like, oh, yeah, hey, what's up? You know, it doesn't really affect you. It's just kind of normal to see them outside the ring. In fact, when you see them in the ring, you're very much aware that what they're doing is a performance, and the whole aura has been just destroyed, finished off by TKO, but they're not totally responsible for it, which is also why I think the actual Unreal show, the more I look at that, the more I think, again, it's supposed to be a show about the show, but it's very much a show within the show. They know when they're being recorded. It's very select on the clips and dialogue that are presented to you. If anybody is watching Unreal and taking it for gospel that this is totally unscripted, candid, they're selecting clips at random, they're selecting the most salacious stuff, you're fooling yourself. What you're seeing, I think, in part is scripted and with Unreal. They are seeing what they want you to see and also marketing it as a totally off the cuff, behind the scenes, hidden camera type of show. It's not. So keep that in mind. Unreal is not real. It's very much opposed to its title. Just thought I would give my 3 cents on that. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, the commentary there and your experience sharing it with us. Always good to hear that stuff. All right. And I mean, I could go on about the Hearts as well, their contributions. And I mean, you gave me so many different detours I could go on and rabbit holes, but in the interest of moving the show along, I will stop. All right. Let's go to Joey. Joey says, dude, your last reaction to my email killed me laughing the way you responded to the ski trip with Michael Cole. I work at a gas station and had an AirPod while working while I listen. There were 2 people browsing for snacks and drinks or something, and when you said I would sit down and try to get Michael Cole to say WWE normally, I busted out laughing out of nowhere like an RKO. These people just looked at me with a puzzled look. Anyway, I have another one for you. Oh, good as well. It's true. I mean, that's what I would actually do in the very likely scenario. I'm trapped with Michael Cole. Might as well see if he even has the actual ability to do it. In fact, that may be one of the first things. Okay. On the Michael Cole Adventures Part 2, he approaches... Okay, so another scenario here. Michael Cole approaches you while you're out at a grocery shopping. Okay. You say, hey, Michael, I'm a huge fan. Michael smiles and says, hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. You say, what are your plans today, Michael? I know we sound the same. Michael Cole chuckles and says, I'm having a family reunion barbecue in my backyard for a watch party for WWE SummerSlam because I won't be there. I know he will be there, but this is just part of the game. He invites me to go and ditch all my groceries in one of the aisles and go with him shopping for stuff. And then you get in the car with him and help him set up and eventually stay for the party. This is well thought out. Okay. Tell me what you would do at the party, and Michael Cole is your ride home. So you have to stay for the whole party until SummerSlam is over. This is, I have to ask, like, where are you concocting these scenarios? I mean, on the fly, or have you given them thought throughout the week? Oh man, what would I? Well, first of all, I would be very concerned about the number of people showing up, because if it's just me and Michael Cole and it was some kind of ploy to get me there, I would question his intentions. But if there actually is a decent amount of people there, say 20, 30, 40, 50 people there or more, yeah, what I would first do, no matter what the scenario is throw a bunch of liquor in my body or beer, whatever is there to alter my state of reality. I would need it for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't like socializing just generally with anyone at all, ever, for any reason. That's just by like my base state, my default state. But also because especially if I don't know a bunch of people, I would just get good and hammered. So that way I'm also very loose-lipped, which can be good and bad, because then I would be a little concerned about what I would say, but also I'd be disappointed because I'd forget a lot of the stuff that was said or I said. So it would be a give and take. But I would love to go around. Here's what I would do. Get good and hammered. Not to the point where I'm stumbling and throwing up, but just enough where, you know, that sweet spot that everyone knows. And then I would go around, I'd hit record on my phone and use that as a bit of a diary for the next morning, where I wake up and go, oh, wow, I said that. He said that. What? And I would do it in a way that wouldn't be super sneaky, though. I would have it out like a microphone, and I'd be asking questions to the different people that presumably are also in the wrestling business and picking their brain and getting into the dirt and stuff like that. That's actually what I would do. That's what I would do. Maybe a little karaoke if the time prescribes, and a good Black and Mild cigar. I don't know why I love the Black and Milds. I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm not a cigar guy per se, but when I drink, there's something about a Black and Mild. I don't know what it is. And I know they're horrible for you because of the filter and everything else. I'll risk it. It's worth risking my future health. Okay. There's your answer. In all seriousness, you're hilarious. Stuff helps me get through these boring days at the gas station. Well, yeah. At the same time, I'm sure the gas station, you see all kinds of characters come through. I mean, because you're getting everybody. Everybody needs gas. Everybody eventually, even if you don't go in the store, you still need to pay for your gas outside. And most likely I would say 50% of the people that go pump gas probably come in the store for something else. Coffee, snacks, water, condoms, who knows, right? But I'm sure you have some stories, Joey. Give us your best one. You can leave names out for anonymity. That's a weird word. Just so you don't implicate anybody. But I'd love to hear a story from you. I don't know how long you've been working there, but I'm curious. The things you've seen, I'd love to know. All right. You sent me also an AI pic. This is great. And to those that are on the audio, it's a photo of Michael Cole in front of a large grill with a huge flame coming out of it. And I don't know, we got 10 hot dogs, 10 hamburgers on it. And there's a banner that says Cole Family Barbecue. And underneath it says WWE. There's even slobberknocker sauce and WWE ketchup. Everything's just WWE. This is good stuff. I'm surprised you didn't put my face as one of the random people in the background. I'm not advocating for that, but I thought I'd be in there as like a Where's Waldo type of situation. Good stuff. Thanks, Joy. Enjoy the gas station. All right. Let's go to Dylan. I have a question. I always wanted to ask someone who's watched wrestling for a while, so I thought you'd be the best person. I'm generally curious. Do wrestlers get a script for every single move in a match, or just the big moments in the match? Could you explain how wrestlers work with each other while in a match? By the way, do your friends and family ever say you look like a certain wrestler? I have 3 of my friends who always say I look like 2008 Kane. Here's a picture of me for reference. You be the judge. I see I see the resemblance. You actually do look like Kane. 08 is probably a guess. Yeah, you kind of do. And if you look back at when Kane looked like in, what was it? Probably 04, 05, when Kane demasked for the first time, which I still don't like that happened, but it happened 20 years ago. Anyway, it happened on Raw. And after that, Kane shaved his head like halfway. It looked bizarre. If you shaved your head halfway, I don't know how tall you are, but you could pass for it. Anyway, back to your questions. No, wrestlers do not get a script for every move in a match. That would be absurd. And I don't mean that. I'm not insulting your intelligence. I'm just thinking of the actual logistics of that. I mean, how could they possibly remember that? They get, oftentimes they'll just get a finish. If you're big enough, if in other words, if you have a massive legacy in the business, like a John Cena or a Randy Orton, likely they get just, here's who's going to win and how. You guys do the rest. That's mostly what happens for the big stars. They fill in the blanks for 90% of the actual bell-to-bell action. Now that's what I've heard over the years, and I don't know. I would think TKO is still a little more lax on that. They micromanage some stuff, but I don't think that's one of them. For younger stars, I would think that a lot of them want more structure and less just letting them do what they want because of fear of failure. So I think they want more and are probably given, without choice, a little bit more structure of the match and how things are laid out, because they need that experience of how to lay out a match, how to start, how to do the kind of the ups and downs of a match in terms of pacing, psychology, everything. And false finishes all the way to the finish. So younger wrestlers likely need that and may even ask for it. When I say structure, though, I still don't mean every single maneuver. I'm saying here's a spot. Maybe we got 4 spots we want to do, and we'll figure it out when we're going to do them during the match. Now, as far as how they do it, and in terms of how they work with each other in a match, they talk. Now, some are better at it than others. If you're John Cena, you pretty much yell it. I mean, John Cena is horrible. If you watch his matches at calling spots, you can hear it. It's like clothesline, drop down, turnbuckle, sunset flip. I mean, you can literally hear him call his spots. It's horrific. As great as John Cena is, that was one thing he was not good at, and that's being quiet and subtle about calling his spots. But they talk. That's how they do it. They just say maneuvers or give quick phrases. They can't have conversations, but you just give quick phrases, and just so that your opponent can hear you and you know what's coming next. That's how it's done. Now, sometimes the referee can also be a part of the match, and they have an earpiece in for a reason. They have an earpiece so that they can get instructions from Gorilla, Triple H, or whoever is back there. It doesn't have to be Triple H, but I'm sure he can key into the ref and say, hey, let's go home, which means end the match. They can give the wrestlers instructions if there's a change made backstage that they want to implement in ring. The referee gets the message, and then the referee will then relay that message to the wrestlers in the ring. So that's how that's done. I never got a person saying I look like a certain wrestler. I think the closest anybody said I look like any celebrity is Chris Daughtry for some reason. I don't see it, but I've heard that before about myself. Yeah. So good stuff. And shave your head halfway. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you just go look at Kane 2004. Look at his hairline. It's ridiculous. All right, Dylan. Curtis. Last email, guys. He says, I have an email I've wanted to mail you for a while, but never got to. I'm curious how you got into wrestling. Do you have a story about how you got into it? Okay, I'll give you mine, and I know you have yours. So you asked, I'll tell you. I got into it. I have said this a few times on my show over the years. I had a friend, Derek, in 6th grade, and I transitioned from a private Christian school to a public school in 6th grade. That's a hell of a transition for a lot of reasons. Peel back that onion, huh? But I transitioned in 6th grade from a private Christian school to a public school. So you talk about culture shock. But anyway, I had a friend in the Christian school named Derek. Actually, Derek Adams. I'll give his full name. Pretty generic, so you'll never be able to figure out who it is. Even if it was, who cares? I'm not implicating him for a crime. But anyway, I had a friend, Derek, and he would come over, and when I first transitioned to the public school, he would come out. He happened to come over a couple of Monday nights, and he would turn on wrestling, and he'd be like, "Oh, I just want to turn on wrestling and see what's going on." I'm like, "What do you mean wrestling?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" I had never heard or seen anything about wrestling up until that point. I had somehow avoided it in my life up until the age, what the hell are you in sixth grade? 12? Yeah, whatever it is. I think 12. I had somehow avoided it up until 1996. Okay, so I was almost 11. I was 11 in 1996. And I really got into it in 1997. So he kind of introduced it to me in 1996. I took full steam ahead in 1997 because of a friend in 6th grade. And ever since 6th grade, I have been watching every single week. I don't know if I've ever missed a week, or at least getting the highlights of the week since 6th grade, which was many, many moons ago. So that's how I got into it. First rivalry, I've said this many times too, was for me, the one that really, really pulled me in, and a great time to be in it, right when the Attitude Era started. I mean, right, was Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell, 1997. That build, that match, I had just gotten into it at that point. That was one of the first ones that I really sunk my teeth into, was in 1997, that I can remember the earliest. And ever since then, I mean, how can you not be pulled in from Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, the build, everything going into it, two of the all-time greats in the first Hell in a Cell match, and they absolutely killed it. The introduction of Kane, I mean, I can't say enough about it. It's one of my favorites of all time. To this day, it is too, not just because it's nostalgic, but also because it just is objectively one of the best matches ever. So here's yours. Okay, here's your story. You were 9 or 10, and your brother and you gamed a lot on GameCube. Your birthday was coming up, and your mom asked you what kind of game you wanted for your birthday. You said you wanted a fighting game. I was expecting a game like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or something along those lines. She got me WrestleMania 19. That game was just amazing. It's my favorite wrestling game of all time, and I still have it and play it from time to time. It had an intense story mode. I recommend Googling it if you haven't ever heard of it. The first time I ever loaded it up and my brother and I did a singles match, I didn't know who anyone was, but I picked Shawn Michaels and my brother picked the Hurricane. My brother wasn't into wrestling as much as I was, but I played the absolute fuck out of that game. Then one night, my mom told me I should watch wrestling on a channel at the time called The Score. I remember going upstairs to try it, but she literally had already had the TV on for me, and I just remember seeing Edge and Unmasked Kane. From there, I just fell in love with it. Nowadays, I'm the only one in the whole family who actually watches and follows it. My girlfriend doesn't like it either, so I'm just always chilling at home with a rum and coke or a beer. I always liked hearing how people got into wrestling, have some cool stories, and some just tried it one day and got hooked. Yeah, isn't it interesting how people get into it? And I've talked to so many people, too, that get into it at around your age and the age I got into it as well. And then they fall off for 10, 15 years or more, and they come back to it. And it's like, do you know how much you've missed? I mean, but that is so you got into it because of WrestleMania 19. I did not actually own the GameCube. WrestleMania 19, I have seen footage of it. I know what the game is. I mean, that was around the time that SmackDown Know Your Role, SmackDown 2 Know Your Role, SmackDown 3 Just Bring It, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, and then it became SmackDown versus Raw, and then that whole series took off, and then we all know what it evolved into since then. But yeah, I never owned a GameCube, but I do remember seeing the game, and I don't know if I actually ever played WrestleMania 19 because I didn't own the system. But Shawn Michaels versus the Hurricane, quite random. But if you don't know who anyone is, then, I mean, you picked a hell of a star just by chance. But if you're still the only one, yeah, it's tough when you are the only one in your group that watches, because then you don't have an outlet. You don't have anyone to really talk to about it outside of random people on the internet. And that can be fun to a point, but you don't have that person in your life that, you know, you can really kind of bond over wrestling with. And a lot of us have that, especially with significant others. If you're a guy that has a girlfriend or a wife and you like wrestling and they don't, yeah, it stinks because you wish they would get into it so you'd have something to talk over with and intelligently debate about, and it could be a fun household. But I feel you. And as far as rum and coke, a man after my own heart. Captain and Diets, baby. Give them to me. I just Captain and Diets or a beer. I love beer, most beer as well. I will say though, I'm a cheap beer guy. I don't like these hoppy, flavorful dive bar specialty beers that just have really exploded over the last few years, and it's starting to die off a little bit. But I'm not that guy that likes to hold his nose up in the air about the type of beer and the quality of the beer or how many hops or yeast or the actual concoction of the beer and how it's made. I don't give a fuck. Right? Like most of the time I'm drinking beer just to get a good buzz, and I don't get ever stupid drunk, but I get to the point where I'm like, all right, yeah, this is fun, right? It elevates your mood. And I like cheap beer. What kind of beer? Well, Coors Light, Bud Light is okay. Rather Miller Lite. I like Miller. And as far as like more high quality beers, Heineken. I'll drink definitely Heineken. Heineken Light is one of my favorites too. I used to, but I don't anymore. I used to drink Keystone Light. That was my big college beer when I was in my party modes and trying to hide it from my girlfriend at the time. I was with her for 5 years. That's a whole nother story. But Coors Light, or rather Keystone Light, was my signature. Busch Light back then. But anyway, yeah, rum and coke, Captain and Diets, vodka cranberries. Those are my jam. I was never into whiskey. I hate whiskey. I hate tequila. Like those, get out of my face. Like I can't. Wine, like I'll have a glass, white wine. I don't like red wine. But anyway, I don't know how I got talking about drinking. I promise I don't have a problem. All right. Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks, Curtis. Okay. Now I want to talk about something that is not on the agenda here, and it's just a big news story. And I'll probably make a video about this as well and put it on some channels I have, including Patreon. The sale of Busted Open Radio, or rather the purchasing of Busted Open Radio by WWE. Now, if you want a really great take on this, I would highly recommend going to JD from NY208, 206, whatever it is, on YouTube. He is just, I mean, I don't know if he's an actually good person. I don't know him in like real life, obviously. He's from New York somewhere, down in the tri-state area. But he gives some of the most honest, brutal takes that inspire me. And he makes such a great point about Busted Open Radio. And I'll get into it in a minute here. I'm just pulling up some articles so I can give some reference, and it's not just me talking out my ass. So WWE is taking over SiriusXM. So here is what Yahoo Sports says. WWE made huge news in the radio world today by taking over SiriusXM Busted Open Wrestling Channel and making it their own network moving forward. Former wrestlers Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, Mark Henry, and a handful of others joined longtime radio host Dave LaGreca as mainstays of the channel. However, there will be plenty of change from a purely independent outlet to one owned and operated by WWE management. So here's the radio, the WWE radio that's been revealed by, that is going to be the new lineup. So it's Busted Open, hosted by Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and Nick Nemeth, i.e. Dolph Ziggler. Not Sam Wrestling Live, hosted by Sam Roberts. Cheap Heat Live with Peter Rosenberg. The Heartbeat with Natalia. Off the Ropes with Raj, Mark Henry, and Tommy Dreamer. And Busted Open After Dark with a rotating cast of hosts. Former WWE personality turned broadcaster Jonathan Coachman joined Busted Open when the network expanded to a daily wrestling coverage, and the coach revealed a few days ago that he was informed that his services would no longer be needed to end his daily show. And it turns out the change to WWE Radio led to Coachman getting removed from the team. He was allegedly removed for being a more critical voice of the promotion when he felt they deserved it. This, guys, and I'm going to echo a lot of what JD from NY said. Again, big fan of him. Again, I'm promoting him for free because, number one, he's a much bigger channel than me, so who cares? And also, he inspires me to just unleash a little bit more than I normally do. And a lot of it has to do with I can't be as loud as I want to be as well because I live in a house with family members and kids, and I normally can't just be yelling. JD, I think he lives by himself he has some cats and stuff, so he's able to just kind of let loose, where I have to be a little bit more reserved in my volume at times. And when I record, it's also at night. So you may say, well, just have them leave the house. Well, when I get a chance to record, it's usually at night and I can't be yelling and waking them up. But if you want one of the most, if not the most straightforward, brutal analysis of WWE, and you like that kind of critiquing, well, JD from New York is your guy. I think I'm a close second, but he's great. Just so much fun to listen to, and he's got a great production value over there as far as his setup and everything else on his channel. So I don't mean to be spending half my time here promoting him, but I'm just going to be relaying some of the things he said and piggybacking on some stuff because it's so important to talk about. It really is. This purchase of WWE Radio taking over now, Busted Open. Before I get into the problems with this that it will, not can or might, it will present. WWE wrestlers are already tied back to the company. Well, the former ones, right? Bubba Ray Dudley, obviously. Yeah, I mean, you have him as he's got friends in the business. Mark Henry's got friends in the business. So already, Nick Nemeth, they already have a vested interest on not critiquing the product to the level that fans do. So they're already a little bit skewed anyway and have been leaning more of patting WWE on the back than I think typical fans would. Even things that have been horrible, they have said, especially Bubba Ray Dudley. I mean, some of his takes are just outright stupid and very much towing the company line already before this announcement was even made. Dave LaGreca too. But notice they are taking dissenting voices away. This is not WWE expanding their reach, right? WWE expanding their reach doesn't look like taking an audience that's already watching their product and now controlling their radio, quote unquote, commentary. That's not what it is. Like, they're not expanding their audience by doing this. Because again, the people listening to Busted Open are already watching WWE, which is why they listen to Busted Open. Nobody's listening to Busted Open and not already watching WWE. Doesn't make sense. There are no fans like that out there. So that's not the answer that I've seen people present. They're just expanding their reach. To who? The audience is already built in. This is about controlling dissenting voices. That's what this is about. Why do you think Coach was let go? JD from NY, by the way, was working and getting closer to working out a deal to being a co-host or maybe permanent host on Busted Open. He was close. He has the subscriber base. As he said, he has the library of episodes. He does have a lot to contribute. A lot of knowledge, passion, energy. He would have been a great fit there. But now that WWE's taken over, there's no chance. This is about taking the largest pro wrestling radio show or podcast and rebranding it and controlling the narrative of it. Now, I don't want to hear, oh, Dave LaGreca said nothing's going to change. My rants aren't going to change. Bullshit. You know why I know it's bullshit? Because if you think that WWE and TKO executives purchased this, the WWE or the Busted Open Radio network so that they can listen to them critique, the co-hosts critique their product? No. Otherwise, they would have left it alone. They would have taken the Busted Open Radio and left it alone if they didn't have a plan or reason to absorb this network. They're taking this audience now and are going to slowly, it won't happen overnight, but the co-hosts and hosts are going to slowly start to massage and soften their opinions of WWE. This is the marketing arm of WWE now. This is how it should be viewed. Busted Open is now a marketing arm of WWE. That's what they are. Because why else would they absorb this network? For what reason? What is the reason other than to control the narrative? If you think the hosts are going to suddenly start criticizing their superiors on air, you're not paying attention. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to be, and it won't be overnight. You'll start to see it little by little, though, over the next 6 to 12 months. You're going to start to see things that just don't make sense, where something on air is going on that is just horrible, objectively terrible, and they're going to try to defend it. Because now WWE executives are their bosses. They answer to someone now. And if you answer to someone, are you really going to bite the hand that feeds you? No, you're not. Or if you do, it'll be in a pre-approved way. I am sure that if WWE is absorbing them now, there are going to be meetings prior to their shows where they're asking, hey, can you give us a list of the topics you're going to talk about? Like just a bullet pointed list. And everything's going to have to be run by TKO. Everything's going to have to be pre-approved. Hey, we're going to critique you on this. Is that okay? Hey, we're going to touch on this. Is that okay? That's essentially what's going to happen. If you don't think that, you think they're just going to purchase them and then just be hands off? No. There is no reason, no logical reason for WWE to take over the SiriusXM radio of Busted Open other than to silence dissenting voices and to make sure that they can take the largest podcast in wrestling and now get all the things said essentially pre-approved. That's what this is. They are dangerously afraid of large independent podcasts that have influence over the fan base, that have bad things to say about the company. Now, Busted Open, again, wasn't already doing this. They were already skewed to the soft end and defending everything. They were. I mean, they had some critiques that were very valid and fun to listen to, but Bully Ray and the team generally has been more soft on WWE than not, because they have ties back to the company. They have friends in high places and they have friends back in the business. So they have a bit of a different lens on the business. And so that was just their view. And now it's going to skew even more that way, because guess who butters your bread? Guess who you have to answer to? It's sad. And the biggest point that JD from NY made, and I will also talk about this, the independent voices, the independent podcasters or radio hosts that are wrestling and analysts, commentators, whatever, are more important now than ever. He made that point several times on his rant. Again, I'd encourage you to go listen. And you're going to say, oh, you just copied. I didn't copy everything he said. But I'm just giving you my take on the big items that he had to bring forward. The independent voices, they are more important now than ever because we are the ones, and I say we collectively, whoever the we is, it's the people, even the people listening, because the more people listening, the more influence you have, the bigger your show is, the more potential danger you pose to WWE's image. So funny that they talk about not wanting dissenting voice, or they don't pay attention to the dissenting voices and negativity, yet they're now buying them up. Funny. But we are more important now than ever. We tell it like it is. We are going to continue to tell it like it is, and at a level that we haven't even reached yet. JD is also going to do the same. I have no partnership. I've never spoken with him. I'm just saying the collective we, because we are in the same space, the same boat. He's much larger, but we're still in the same boat. And I stand behind that 100%. We will continue to talk about WWE the way that it needs to be spoken about. If something's good, we're certainly going to give it praise. We are going to give flowers where they're due. If something is really good, if it's entertaining, absolutely, we will. But when things are dog shit, and we're given a pile of dog shit, and we're told to eat it and like it, and if we don't say anything. We're just supposed to be quiet. Well, I don't know how to really eloquently say this other than fuck you. That's not going to happen. In fact, I'm now more inspired than ever to grow this podcast, to make sure that WWE is called out on their bullshit. When things suck, we should not sit back and also be shouted down, not just by WWE and disregarded that they don't pay attention and try not to empower us, but also the people that tell us, well, if you don't like it, then don't watch. Yeah, I love that. As if that would be, if that was the case, I guess movie critics are never able to watch any movies or comment on any movies that they didn't like. They're just supposed to be quiet. I mean, that logic would not hold water beyond any form of entertainment. So anyway, I'll have more to say on this as we move on. It's a hell of a telltale sign of where they want to go and what they want to do to control the narrative. And they are going to be state-run radio. They'll continue to claim they're not. They'll have their pre-approved rants here and there to try to calm the nerves of people that think they're just going to basically pat WWE on the back for everything they're doing. They'll have a few rants here and there that are just kind of like, well, duh. Like, they're not going to do anything that will hurt the image of the company. And they have now essentially sold themselves out for truth. They've sold themselves out to WWE for the truth of whatever's going on. And that's what WWE is trying to control. TKO is trying to control now. That's where their mind is, yet we're told at the same time they don't pay attention to the negativity. Oh, yeah? Well, if that's the case, then why are you trying to now control all of the biggest shows in wrestling that were actually independent from WWE? Why are you trying to control them? Tell me again. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll end it there. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. I'll be back on Sunday with the weekend review for a big week with SummerSlam coming up next weekend. Take care.